This is our second lesson for our illustration project on Thoreau's passage from Walden. Now, this lesson I want to talk about point of focus. In the passage from Walden, Thoreau pulls out furniture from his cottage and places it out on the grass in front of the house. And so these elements need to be in our composition. We don't need all of them. You need to make choices about which ones you'd like to place in your composition. And you can use resources on the internet or some of the resources that I've provided on the blog. If you use an outside resource, you need to make sure it's in the correct perspective. Okay? So one way to conceive of putting the chair or the bed or the table in perspective is to imagine a rectangular solid, put that in perspective, and then map out your piece of furniture within that solid. Okay? If we look at this rectangular solid, I've thought of maybe this being a form for a chair, or maybe a tall, skinny table. All right? This is in one-point perspective. So I have one vanishing point over here, and you can see I've taken all my points to the vanishing point. All right, remember with one-point perspective, this front plane is parallel to the picture plane. Okay? So it's only one of the sides and the top that end up being in perspective. All right. So this rectangular solid, I've conceived of, this could be a larger table or the form for a bed. All right. And this one is in two-point perspective, two vanishing points. Here's one vanishing point, and there's one that actually goes off the page because my paper wasn't big enough. All right. And that means that this edge of the box is what touches the picture plane. And so from that point, we either go back this way or back to that vanishing point over there. Okay? Now let's try to conceive of the furniture in these boxes. Here I've shown the transparency of the box, and I've also indicated the halfway point. I'm going to think of this as my chair. Okay? So let's look at it. If I was to draw on top of this box, I could lay my seat of my chair in here in perspective. On the back side of my rectangular solid, I could add my chair back. Okay? And then these obviously would be the legs, and then I could develop my chair there. I don't have to keep to a straight. I can, create like a interesting design for this chair leg, okay, to fit in there, or add more spokes in the back of the chair, okay. But I'm basically putting the solid in perspective and then using it as a loose base for the piece of furniture. And here, this one's pretty easy to see the table, right? This would be the tabletop and the four legs. But I could also make it a bed by indicating the halfway point here, and then following my perspective lines back to create what would be the mattress of the bed, okay? And I could even extend, like they had sometimes, they had long poles that went up for a certain design of a bed, okay? All right, next I want to talk about developing your pieces of furniture and other elements that you want in your composition. Here I've put this chair in perspective. This is my idea. But I was also interested in, what kind of animals I'm going to have. And here I've conceived of two birds that are going to be in the composition. Sort of this little raven holding court on the chair. I am thinking about maybe adding some books, but instead of on the table, I'm going to put them on the ground. Okay. Here I've shown it further away, chairs in 1-point perspective. Here this is 2-point perspective. Here I'm closer to my subject, so I'm looking more down on my subject. So these books are, I'm looking more at the top than the sides. Okay? But I also have to start thinking about it in terms of how it's going to fit into the larger whole. Okay? So it's important that you, if you're going to use watercolor, which I recommend, you start incorporating those same colors into the pieces of furniture. Okay? And one last thing I want to talk about is that last time we looked at the beautiful simplicity of the Manet illustrations. That's what I want. We're not here designing a piece of furniture. We're creating a structure that's going to give a sense of emotion, invitation to the viewer to participate in this scene. Okay? You can use the objects to, you know, attract their attention. You can use squirrels or birds or drapery to invite them into the scene. Okay, it's really up to you.